get started. I know that we have a jam-packed program today, and I want to leave room for questions because see how we are? We just like to process things. So, my name is Janet Farnes, and I'm on your Stewards of Creation team here at St. Mark's. I also sit on your church council. Thanks for coming. This summer I had a chance to have coffee with Pastor Sandy Ward at Manitou United Methodist Church right up the street. Hello, come in, front rows, plenty of seats up there. You're not shy. Sandy told me about their initiative to adapt their grounds to use water more wisely and employ native plants. And I said, oh, sounds familiar. And I asked if there was someone who could share their project and the progress. Here at St. Mark's, since we're kind of doing the same thing, and that person is Sue Plummer. She's here this morning to share their thinking and their journey and probably a few mistakes. Like, yeah, come on up. Manitou United Methodist. The questions we have here at St. Mark's that we're asking and walking around the grounds and thinking about is how can we use less water? You know, we have to steward that aquifer. How can we be more pollinator friendly because we have to steward those insects? And how can we reduce not only the cost for landscape maintenance, but the volunteer labor involved as well, because it takes a lot to take care of this space. And how can we transform our sensibility from English garden proper, everything's got to look so perfect, to a really God's natural wild space. Just kind of, there's some,
I don't know, I might just
okay. And I think it's awesome that our faith communities managing these pieces of land could be examples for our community that we can steward this land that we've inherited from prior generations and originally from the Spokane tribe. So I think it's wonderful that we think of ourselves that way as being a showcase of stewardship. And I really want to thank Susan. She's so prepared. I'm going to get out of the way, and she's got a lot of material to share. I said, yeah, 45 minutes. She goes, so this is going to be really good, jam-packed. And we'll have some time for questions. And this won't be the end of our conversation together, I'm sure. And there are a number of our members that are using these principles in their own homes. And I was thinking, oh, we're going to have to do like a hop and see whatever is going on in our own congregation that people are working on too, because we've all learned a lot and how it's hard, but we believe in the principle. There's some helpful brochures. They're by Spokanescape. One of the brochures helps you even apply for some funding. If you want to be doing this in your own home, you have to be in this community. But I just wanted to have us welcome Susan, and she's going to share this journey of recreating God's corner. So thank you, Susan.
Thank you. She just about gave the whole talk there, but I got pictures. And so there is that. I am, and I have been for many years, concerned about how much water we use and how much the climate is changing. And how can my communities that I belong to, how can we all change what we do to make our earth last longer? So I'm thinking of water. Water is such a big deal in our area. We're going to be talking about water-wise usage from the aspect of reducing the amount of lawns as it pertains to homeowners, businesses, and to my church, your church. Members at Manitou have been interested in this project of re-landscaping and have studied what we can do. Our Pastor Sandy Ward and 2 members went to an Earth Keepers conference in Colorado last October, and they came back so gung-ho. And oh boy, we just got to do this. And so here we are, almost a year ago. We're trying here for healthy landscapes. Landscapes that will nourish the food web, supply clean water, pull carbon out of the air, and feed and shelter insects and pollinators. The question, does a lawn actually do this? No. I like to say that lawns are like deserts for insects. Oops, come back, come back. Oh, don't go there. I really got a heavy finger there. All right. I don't know if any of you know what Manitou looks like. We have an excessive amount of lawn. We have a huge front lawn, and then a huge side lawn, and then a huge east lawn, and then the backyard where we have all of our preschools get to play. So we have a lot of lawn. We use thousands of gallons every summer. Keeping this grass green is an exercise in futility because grass does not want to stay green when it's hot out and, you know, it's not feeding anything. So the main driver is water. That's what we're going to be talking about. Spokane gets its water from the Rathdrum Prairie Aquifer, which is charged by lakes and rivers here. And it's, for the most part, it's underground. Up here there's a spot in the, probably around here, that it's actually exposed. And you can see, oh, that's our water. That's the water that's underground. But it's finite. Every summer, we use thousands and thousands of gallons, and we draw down the aquifer because we're drawing down the rivers. So it's finite. Does anybody have any ideas about how much water? Oh, I'm going to tell you the answer to the amount. This is the average here. 80 gallons of water a day. 80 gallons of water a day. That sounds like a lot. You're not drinking 80 gallons of water, washing clothes, brushing your teeth. This is the average American. How about the average Spokane person?
180.
Double it. It's different, really.
Oh, no. Really? Oh, gosh.
Why?
235 gallons of water a day. You're going over the whole year. So you've got to remember that maybe you don't use 235 gallons of water in November or December. So why should we care about water usage? It's because we use most of our water in watering our lawn. It's just crazy. You know, even using 27 gallons of flushing your toilet is a lot, but when you're getting up here to hundreds and hundreds of gallons of water, this is the average water consumption per day per household in Spokane. This is household. Our indoor water use averages 117 gallons per day, while our outdoor is 553 gallons per day during the peak of the summer. That's a lot of water. So, I don't know if you all know where this house is. I used to walk by it all the time. Just walk west on 33rd, like you're walking up to Comstock Park. And this house is always this green and lovely. And I guess Kyle Merritt from the water department drove by and said, now that's a good example of a well-watered lawn. And he looked it up. How much water does this family use? 104,000 gallons of water in July, and that's a lot, right? That's like 52 water trucks, those big old water trucks. Yeah, 2,000 gallon water trucks. So here's the average water, the way we're using water, okay? You can see how much water we use in the summer compared to the fall. Well, don't they do this in the rest of the country? No. We've got two good reasons. One is that our water, those measly 17 inches we get a year, comes during the winter months, not during the summer months. When was the last time it rained significantly here? This 1/10 of an inch doesn't count. So we don't get water in the summer. My daughter lives in Pennsylvania. She never waters. She has green grass and huge plants because it rains in the summer. And that's the other thing. In the West, we don't get as much water and we don't get water in the summer. So think about it. What is Spokane supposed to look like in the summer? Go out to the bluff.
Yeah.
Go to Hamblin Park.
Yeah.
That's what it's really supposed to look like. But if you do that in your yard, your neighbors might look at you funny. They look at us funny anyway, but that's all right. Don't worry about it. So, what do? We love a green landscape. But there are some things that we can do to use less water and still have a good-looking landscape. So at this Earth Keepers conference that Anne and Maureen and Sandy went to, that I mentioned before, when they had to create their project, that was the job. It wasn't just to come and sit and listen. They had to work and create their project. And they named their project Recreating God's Corner, because we're right on the corner. And they had to come up with what the goals would be for Recreating God's Corner. And so they really came up with a lot of them. And they're very similar to the kinds of things that Janet was saying. Very similar. Re-landscape the front lawns to be more wise and sustainable. That, at least let's do the front lawns. Provide a model of creation and care and climate justice. We want to be a good example for all the walkers that come by our church. You know, we're right exactly next door to Sacagawea, but we have lots of people that walk on down to Thomas Hammer, or they have to walk to the post office. And, you know, they see this. We acknowledge our ancestral roots through educational signage and use of native plants. We have a native plant garden, and I have signs up there, but this will be even more visible. Provide habitat for native pollinators, and that's a really big one for me. We want to foster relationships to create a new way to church. Church isn't always just sitting in the sanctuary and singing those old hymns. It's getting people together, and people together with nature. What more could you want? We have great potential. We have over 400 people using our church building every week that are not members, that do not come to church. This is to, we did want to provide a place for spiritual connection with nature. So we want it to be inviting. We want to invite people in. And we have one more. And that is to bring joy to our neighborhood by creating an inviting, welcoming, and safe space that is aesthetically pleasing, calming, and full of colors and textures. Okay, that's a lot of goals. I was, okay. So, how do we go about this? We're going to aim at water-wise landscaping. What does water-wise landscaping look like?
Not done.
It really doesn't look like this. It's okay, but that's not what I'm aiming at. This one is water-wise. This is my sister's house in Maricopa, Arizona, south of Phoenix. And this is what you have to have in the HOA. You have no choice. And if you have anything more growing in that area, it better have a drip coming to it because it's not going to last long. But they do have little drips, and they do have trees in the backyard. That's not what we're aiming at. We're not aiming at the gravel. This is more of a xeriscape type landscape design. This is just down the street from me on 33rd. Just they took out all their lawn, and it is water-wise because it's, you know, they're not using big sprinklers to water the lawn, and they have a few plants that have drips to them. But that's not what we're aiming at in Spokanescape. We've got a house that looks like this on our street too. That's pretty low water usage. These are not native plants, these are dandelions, they are invasive. Now this is the idea for water-wise landscaping, that you're using drought-tolerant plants, pretty lavender in there, and bark mulch, not rock mulch. Rock mulch can add to the heat. And efficient watering, though that's what we're aiming at. Here's another home. See, these look like South Hill homes. These look like homes I could find pretty quick. Let's see if I can coordinate my numbers with the slides. Okay, we're not there. Okay, that's another one. And here's a nice before and after, which is more inviting.
Yeah.
And you can just see the butterflies in there. They're gonna love it. Really much more interesting. Spokanescape can provide food and shelter for insects, all the beneficial insects. And adds beauty to the yard. You know, we get so much more enjoyment out of seeing flowers blooming than seeing expanse of grass that doesn't want to stay green. Yeah. So Spokane's landscape rebate program is called Spokanescape, and other towns have a program similar to Spokanescape. So other places that have low water and high water usage are probably looking at the same sort of projects. The requirements are that you replace existing turf. You don't have to replace all of it, but you have to replace a certain percentage of it with mulch and alternative plantings. And you can earn up to $500 for this. So that's not nothing. You have to do a minimum of 300 square feet. We did 1,000 square feet in the space that we did. And it must be publicly visible. So the first time you do it, you have to do the front yard. But if you get the front yard and it gets all done, it's all okay, then now they're doing a backyard. So you can do your backyard and get their rebate. And you have to use an efficient watering method. So here are the steps. The first, of course, is you set your goals. It sounds like you guys have your goals set. And so those are our goals. And here's some other goals to think about or repeat them. Aesthetics, you want it to look good. You want it to be low maintenance because even gardeners want low maintenance. There's always more to garden. Privacy screening might be something that you're after, or you might want a gathering place. You know, you don't expect the kids to play soccer here, but maybe you can make this a place that people can gather, potlucks or neighborhood meetings. You might want shading, and you might want to improve the ways that you can cool your house down with some nice native trees or bushes. Lower water usage. That's the number one. Then you think of what other kinds of features you want. You don't have to water seating areas, walls, and pergolas. So that helps. The nice stepping stones, the dry river or creek bed. You might want to use raised gardens. And raised gardens don't have to have only vegetables in them. So you can still have pretty things growing. Maybe a fence, maybe a privacy hedge, rocks, pathways. And we start with a sketch. Now this doesn't look like anything to you, but that's our front yard at our church. So the church building is up on the top, and it's an old building, and it's got a big rose window, and so I just call this the rose window garden. And then there's a strip of lawn, and then this area it's a sidewalk, and it comes down like this. Here's the street, 33rd, and this is the other sidewalk that the kids all walk on, and this is the parking strip. This is the area that we gardened. We changed the whole landscape of that. This is grass, you know, there's plenty of grass, and then the grass goes around, lots of grass. Right now, our grass doesn't look good because the person who's in charge of our sprinkler system said that it works. And he didn't believe us when we said, no, it does, each zone works, but it doesn't come on. It just doesn't come on. Yeah, it would work. You can turn it on, but we're not going to go do that every time we want the water. But so we have a whole lot of brown grass. But I'm really not worried. Grass just wants to go dormant in the summer anyway. So we didn't use much water this summer. It looks like the end of the world. But anyway. So the things you have to pay attention to, and you have to do the sketch. You have to send in a sketch. Property lines, structures, windows if they're going to affect the kind of plants that you're going to put in, power lines, underground utilities. Pay attention to where any sprinkler lines are. Our Boy Scouts cut our sprinkler lines in 5 places. I'm looking at 5. Existing plants, you might have some plants you want to keep. Fences and gates, we didn't have any of that. We just had a blank slate, all of this lawn. Okay. Then you have to think about microclimates. Depending on your yard, you know, you might have a place that, wow, it's always, you know, this place is always green right here, but why is this always dry? Well, because this gets sun all day long and this never sees sun. So you're thinking of those microclimates. Is it sloping? Boy, ours is a slope. We've got a big slope on our property. And asphalt and concrete, our area is surrounded by concrete. So that's, you know, boy, heat all the way around that. And it gives, it absorbs the heat, and those sidewalks stay hot. And it radiates heat. Maybe I'm going too fast. Then I can talk about flowers. All right. So here's the aerial view of our church. And so you can see this is the area that we landscaped. Here's our parking strip, and you might see the term, lots of people are calling it a hell strip. It doesn't have to be. It's a parking strip. And then this area up here where this grass is, we decided in the last 2 weeks that we're going to do something more there too. We're going to finish that up at this time. So you can see that this is total southern exposure, sun all day long. Hard to keep it green. I don't know when that area's ever been green, but maybe in the spring. very high microclimate area. So we're aiming at low maintenance, colorful, no additional water after plants are established. Huh, is that possible? It is when you're using native plants. We'll have the drips there, and if we actually see something wilting, we can flip the switch. So if you're doing an area that you want big plants in, choose your trees and your bushes first. These are some of my favorite native plants. The thing with these, they're all deciduous. They provide shade in the summer, but then they allow light in the winter. And they provide food and shelter for birds and wildlife. And don't fertilize these. And you know, don't use any insecticides. You don't need to prune them if they're planted in the proper place. And that's hard because you get them when they're really little. And then they grow. That's what happened to my ocean spray. I mean, that's a gorgeous picture of it. But it would just love the whole area because it does want to get big. And the mock orange too. It's all crammed in there. I love serviceberry. I've got probably 4 or 5 serviceberries. And I love golden currant. Mock orange is the state flower of Idaho. So after you get those big ones in, then you can start looking at plant selection. And the Spokane's, this particular issue, this comes out every year, this issue has so many plants, and it tells you all about the plants, that they're insect friendly, they might have berries, fall color, evergreen, winter, so you can learn all about the plant without having to look up the plant. So this is really a good one. This is one to really keep. Each year they have something wonderful in each of them. Try to have 70% of the area in native plants. And that's one of the things you have to do. Anyway, you have to quantify how much area your plants are. You can use larger plants in the parking strips. The gal across the street from me planted her sedum and other plants that are that tall. She has those in her parking strip, just like in her lawn. So it's going to be interesting. She just had that done a couple weeks ago, and it's looking really good. But here are some low-maintenance, water-wise plants that would work for a parking strip. And it's suggested that you have paver stones so that as people get out of their car, they can step into a paver stone. Although these are all steppables. Well, the lavender isn't, but the creeping sedum, those you can step on them. They won't totally die. They're not for playing football on, but just make sure that they don't get too much. They don't get too big and flop over into the sidewalk or onto the street. Do your research. It's fun to go to the nurseries, but you got to know what you're looking for. So here, let's talk a little bit about the plant calculations. You have a form like this, and you have to list all the plants in the plan and leave out any existing plants, but they want to know what you're doing new. They want you to find the plant area in the guidebook, so there's a page in here that tells you exactly how to find this, find out how much mulch, and find how many square feet the plants are going to take, the area of the plants. and think of the size the plant's gonna be at maturity. That is so hard. That's probably the hardest thing. When I drew my design, I thought, oh, there's plenty of room there. I'll put 3 golden currants. And then when we started planting, I thought, we're not going to use golden currants. That's going to get too big. So, doing rubber rabbit brush. Anybody know what that is? Well, you probably see it along the side of the road right now. It's kind of almost weedy looking, but it's yellow and it's not as big, and it's a keystone plant, so insects need this. So, you know, you can be flexible, I hope. And then your rebate application is almost complete. You have to fill out required forms, information, and list the current watering, and what your proposed method is going to be. Of course, it has to be water efficient, and we'll show some examples of that. They list them here, but I'll show some in a minute. Drip lines, where the whole line has a little drip in it. Drip emitters, where they come out and drop a little water up here, and it drops a little water up here. Micro sprays, bubblers, rotary nozzles. You can use by hand. I don't recommend that. That's tiresome. And then you send your application in. So you have all these 4 things that you have to send in, including the 2 pictures, your before pictures. And then you get an inspection. When we did ours, we made our drawing of what we were going to do, and then we had someone from Spokanescape, of course her name's not going to come to me, but she came out and looked at our drawing. And she said, oh yeah, oh this is good, you've done such a good job. Let's put this here and let's move that. Like, no, oh this is so good. We're good. Let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. I mean, it was all very positive, and she knew a little bit more about landscape design than I did. She was really good, very positive. So here's our front lawn, and you'll see in a few minutes what it looks like now. Just want to give you that good before picture. And this is the design that we finally used, we turned in. So this was going to be golden currant, but it's not. And this was going to be a little large leaf sunflower, and it's not because we couldn't get it. And so we have other native plants in there. Lavender, kinnikinick, Rudbeckia, we've got Carl Forester. Our grasses aren't really native. Our little blue fescue and oak grass, but they do so well, and they don't need much, so that's okay. Aster, so I have some western aster in my garden, and our first round of planting was, if you've got this kind of plant at your house, bring it and plant it.
Yeah.
And that was great. So I brought some of my aster, and that worked out great. I had lots of aster, but they were pitiful, like 3 stems that you plant, and they're blooming. Those 3 little miserable stems are blooming. It's really cute. So, and you know, they're gonna get like this in about 3 to 5 years, and it's going to cover the bees. I can hardly wait. Aster, most of the Oregon grape didn't survive. Oh well. This is a red osier dogwood, and I was so happy. I got that one at Desert Jewels, and it's so beautiful. So Desert Jewels is out off of Argonne, and it's nice to talk with Diana. She really knows her stuff. She suggested the penstemon that I finally chose, and her plants were really looking good. She's open the weekends now through September, so that was nice. And then the other plants I got were from Desert Jewels. Now, I mean from Plants of the Wild. And we get a lot of, I've done a lot of business with Plants of the Wild over the years. And so this time I just wanted, I wanted them now. So I just drove out there, and that's fun, it's an hour drive. And they gave me the wholesale prices. So I got them really inexpensive, and I thought, oh, this is great, I need this. Because it does add up, the plant material really does add up. And then this is a dry creek bed, in case you haven't figured that out. And we're still working on that. What else? I've got yarrow. The H up there stands for hyssop. What I've got instead of Anna's hyssop is hummingbird mint. And it's airy, it's light, and it smells good. I was after that. So you have, when you've got 1,000 square feet, you can have texture, you can have color, you can have scent. So we've got the scent of the lavender and the hyssop. That's a good plan. Okay, here comes the fun part. Now you've got it all planned. Now, we were fortunate to have a Boy Scout. We have had a Boy Scout troop at our church forever. And this young man wanted an Eagle project. And so he agreed to do this work. And it's been an interesting project working with them. So you need to remove several inches of turf and soil from the edges of the grass. So in here, you need to, just on the edge, you're supposed to remove the soil and the turf so that when you put, oh, I'm going to point it that way. When you put the mulch in, the top of the mulch will then end up at the top of the sidewalk or whatever. So that was a big step. And then you end up, you've got some soil, and so you have to have a place to plant. You have a place to put some soil that's left over that you're not going to use. You can use it under your bark and make some mounds or something. So then you get all if you're going to use the sheet mulching method, water the lawn and put the cardboard down. Be sure all the tape is off of the cardboard. Have an inspector to do that, to make sure that it's all off. Because I know that team ripped off lots of tape, but now when I go to plant, oh, look there's some tape. You've got to rip the tape out, because it will not decompose in my lifetime. And that's not a good thing. So put the cardboard down, make sure it's wet, and then you can cover it with mulch. And it says here you can plant immediately. But you know that you're going to have to cut into cardboard. That's not as easy as it sounds. So I would, we waited like 3 weeks, but it's better put the mulch and the cardboard down in the fall, and in the spring it'll be all ready for you, if you can do that. Because we had to cut through grass and everything. But, yeah, it just depends on what kind of hurry you're in. But it really does work. I've used it in my garden at home. It's really a good idea. Okay, so for a while, that's what the place looked like. Other ways that the sod can be removed is with a sod stripper, and that's hard work. And then you have to get rid of the sod. Where are you going to put that? You can't put it in your green bin.
By nothing. People will take it off by nothing.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, so yeah, you've got choices. It does remove some quality growing soil, because that soil right there, that's the good stuff. It's been working. There's lots of microorganisms in it. It's not a good choice, I think. You can use some of the soil to make mounds in your new landscape. And then there's also the solarization method, where you water the grass well before placing down the plastic, and then really it has to be nice and tight in there so that light and air and everything doesn't get in there. Hold the rocks down, and then leave that in place for 6 to 8 weeks. I am not a fan of it because it seems to me that solarization will it'll kill the plants that are growing there, but it could also be killing and harming the microorganisms and other things that are growing in the soil. The soil is alive. It's not just dry nothing. There's creatures in there. And so you get that far, I think you've done a whole lot. So you need to think about how you're going to put irrigation in. This shows what a sprinkler head looks like. And all the sprays, and it's really fine, and it's very fine water that can evaporate quickly. If you use rotary nozzles like this, the droplets are heavier, and they drop down into the water, to the ground better. So that's rotary nozzles that you can use on your, but this would be through a drip system, not through the regular sprinkler system. Sprinkler system has a lot more pressure and lots more water goes through. And now there's different kinds of drip systems. This one is the inline emitter tubing that now we're going to use. Originally, I thought we were going to do the little 1/4-inch tube that comes off the 1/2-inch tube and just drops the water, but we've got way too many plants to do that. We've got, I don't know, one time I calculated 95 plants. I'm not sure we planted that many, but that's a lot of plants. So now we're going to do this tube that has constant drips. Well, that's a good idea, but do that before you put the mulch. It's all on me. It's my bad. So it's going to be fun when we get to that step. So speaking of that step, most of my material comes from one of the Spokanescape slide shows. It's online. I mean, you can see these online, and they have a couple of different ones. And you can go to see a real professional Spokanescape person for about an hour. It's an hour and a half presentation at the county extension on Wednesday at 5:30.
This Wednesday.
This Wednesday. And you have to sign up for it. Go to WaterWise Spokane or Spokanescape, and you can find the connection for that. And if you can't make it this Wednesday, they'll have another one in a month. So the one this Wednesday is going to have breakout sessions, and they're going to talk about the sprinkler systems, and that's. I got 5 more minutes. Oh goodness, how time does fly. Oh my, okay. Well, we'll slip right along. If you want to know more about that, there is some good information in here, and it's not hard to get the information, but you do have to do some work. Oh, well then, this is fine. So here we are planting plants, and it's just kind of heartwarming. And this is our final product. This is approximately what it looks like now. So we put in a pergola here, and we're gonna put we're gonna put stone under here, and we're gonna put bark along here, and that's the plan. And let's see if I can. You can't even see it, but there is. That's probably the dogwood. Yeah, that's the dogwood. So when we're getting ready, we want to get started. We want to get started, but the Boy Scout isn't ready to get started. I want to keep the momentum going in the church. So I got rocks, and we painted rocks.
Sure.
And had them name the rock a plant. So this rock says red osier dogwood, this one says blue oak grass, and there's one down here that says kinnikinick, and you know, my kinnikinicks are so little, but they'll grow. They'll grow. And then I also have plant ID tags for all the plants. So all the plants will have IDs on them.
Is this year?
This is this year.
So like come back in 5 years, it's gonna be a jungle. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, we'll see how many grow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
So fun.
And you know, and maybe we can have a plant sale.
Oh, a good idea.
So just to let you see some of the plants, there's the blue fescue and the blue oak grass, and it's the same, only bigger. And there's Carl Forster, and that's from my garden. And we've got Silky Lupin, and we're probably going to get a few more of those, just because they don't live very long.
You propagate them.
I haven't had that happen in my garden, but it might happen there.
Sometimes
This is a Davidson's penstemon. I don't know what kind of penstemon I got from Diane from Desert Jewels. I think it's not that. This is Oregon Sunshine. I love Oregon Sunshine. It's low, it's compact. It's cheerful. I love it. And then once it starts blooming, it blooms a long, long time. And here's the hummingbird mint and the yarrow. The yarrow can be other colors, but the white is the native. Here's our red osier dogwood. Here's some blanket flower. I wasn't planning on blanket flower because my blanket flower is so miserable, but one of the gals at church had said, oh no, mine is just nice. It's kind of compact. Okay, well, it's probably not totally native, but it's good enough. Butterfly weed is not like the monarch thing that monarchs eat, right? I do not recommend you plant that, Asclepias speciosa, in a garden. Plant it in a field because it will take over like crazy.
This plant or milkweed?
No, milkweed.
Milkweed.
It's, for one, it was hard for me to get it to grow, and when it finally grew, it wanted to take over, and so I'm very unhappy. So all I can do for you monarchs is just feed you. I can't provide a place for you to lay your eggs. And here's the western astrum.
Yeah.
And the only thing you have to do for maintenance, it says, is clean the drip filters. You have to do that. You have to check the emitters and equipment every spring. Yeah. If you have a sprinkler system, you have somebody check. Yes?
I have a large water-wise garden. And the idea of planting lavenders, which are large and lovely,
Yes?
if they are not pruned
Yes.
back, they are a big, dead, ashy-looking plant.
You have to know your plants, and that you do have, you have to take care of them.
Yeah.
Absolutely, that's
Yeah,
good. That's
Russian
my people.
sage, lovely.
Oh,
The
yeah.
animals love it. And if you don't cut it back, you have a big dead weed.
Well, it's
And they'll come back real fast if you cut it back.
red osier dogwood,
Yes.
unless, and I can show you what they look like if you don't. You know, yeah, they're huge. So, yeah.
We're so fortunate to have those battery operated.
Yes, yes. Yeah,
Just saying.
one winter I could not take care of my garden, so my husband helped me and he mowed my lavender, and I thought,
Oh no.
oh well. Oh, it came back, who cares? He put it on a 4-inch setting and then he mowed a whole area of it.
And you did that in the fall? I try to leave as much as I can.
Yeah.
For animals, for
Yeah.
birds, yeah.
Now I pruned it in the spring because
Yeah,
I have
you
a
shape it,
pound
yeah,
of it
right.
down the nerve garden.
Right.
We learn.
Right, so this is, we by hand clip the weeds if you don't want to disturb the soil. If the area doesn't get any water,
Yeah.
the weeds won't grow. I've got, one of my gardens is a good testament to that. I've never had anything grow there. Well, I've never put water there. So,
Yeah.
so this is what I've got. Any of the questions? Yes?
I wonder if an alternative to the grass removal would be to rototill it and then rake out the clumps. And then you're left
Rototilling
with a
is,
little bit of grass growth, but mostly just soil.
rototilling isn't a recommended practice anymore because it breaks up the soil. Like I said, the microorganisms, the whole friendly compatibility community of the soil. It will also just stir up any seeds. Okay, so when we did that trim around the outside edges, well, that just, oh, there's seeds in that soil. Now it's getting light now, and we're gonna have, and we've got weeds right there along the edge, you know. Yes?
So we did the Waterwise program for a boulevard, and at the time we did it, they had a landscape architect that would come out
Yes?
and for free for 1 hour.
Yes, that's what this gal
Yeah, she
did
did.
in the drawings,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
And you can
Yeah,
still
yeah,
get
it's an
that.
hour is free,
Yeah,
That's
Great
awesome.
great.
yeah.
Great service.
Oh,
They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They have good ideas
That's
on what to
really
plant.
Yeah.
and you go to Waterwise,
It's a
Yeah.
huge
Spokane, and,
benefit.
There, you just go
It's a
online
really good program.
and set up a time.
mhm.
That's fantastic.
Right.
Other questions? I hope it, yes,
Did you consider using any kind of herbicide to knock down the weeds?
no, I don't consider using herbicides to do anything. That's where I'm at.
That's great.
And because herbicides drift, they could end up in my pollinator garden, and I wouldn't want them there. Herbicides kill, okay, so herbicides in the grass, little bugs eat the roots or something of the grass. They ingest some of this herbicide. Then the bugs get eaten by the birds. And the birds try to form eggs, and they can't because the herbicide affects the eggshell. And so that reduces the number of birds.
You know, what we found is by using enough mulch, just really.
Oh, yeah,
weed-
oh,
The
absolutely.
weeds, just, you don't even need a weeder. just
No,
pull it.
no, there's nothing to pull the weeds.
Yeah.
Right.
I've had experience with red osier dogwood
Uh-huh.
at home and in our little park in our HOA, and also here at our lower parking lot, and it gets huge.
Yes.
And you cut it back and it gets really woody, so I'm not sure that's a good
Okay.
plan.
Sorry, I got it already.
Maybe in that area.
And you know, I think, you know, that's okay. I'm not gonna live to that age. Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I hope you got something. You're gonna go look and look at the industry together.
So you can see there's a lot of interest, and I know a lot of you are working on your own
Yeah.
yards and